Breaking news. The NFL world is absolutely stunned today. A blockbuster trade has just shaken the league, and it could go down as one of the biggest moves since the Callum Mack deal. Stay locked in, because what I'm about to tell you will change the way you see this season. Coming up on today's Raiders report, the Silver and Black have made a roster move, adding a safety, and we'll break down exactly what that means moving forward. But that's not all. Could the Raiders actually be looking to reunite with a familiar face? Rumors are swirling about Hunter Renfrow, and we've got the latest on that situation. But before we dive deeper into the newest Raiders updates, a shocking headline is rocking the entire NFL. The Green Bay Packers and the Dallas Cowboys have agreed to a massive trade. Dallas is sending superstar linebacker Micah Parsons to Green Bay. In return, the Cowboys received two first-round draft picks along with veteran defensive tackle Kenny Clark. And let me tell you, this isn't just a big move, it's historic. Parsons is only 26 years old, fresh off a season where he racked up 12 sacks, and now he's cashing in with a monster contract, 4 years, $188 million, with $136 million guaranteed. That's nearly $47 million a year, setting a new bar at his position. Now pause for just a second. Before we get into what this trade means for the Raiders and the entire NFL landscape, do me a quick favor. If you're a die-hard Raiders fan or just love breaking NFL news, hit that subscribe button, drop a like, and don't forget to turn on the bell icon so you never miss an update. Alright, let's move on to the latest developments. Here's where things get really interesting. While Parsons might now be wearing green and gold, the Raiders still hold one of the most dominant forces in the league, Max Crosby. And while some analysts are already debating Parsons versus Crosby, I'll break down why I believe Crosby is the more complete football player. Parsons may be elite at pressuring the quarterback, but Max is relentless, versatile, and the heartbeat of this Raiders defense. So the real question is, who actually won this trade? The Packers, the Cowboys, or maybe even the Raiders by standing pat? Let's break it down. Now here's the real question, Raider Nation, and honestly, the entire NFL fan base is asking it right now. Who actually won this trade? Let's break it down. From the Packers' perspective, this move makes perfect sense. You're in a division where the Lions are one of the best teams in football. The Bears just stacked their offensive line to protect Caleb Williams, and the Vikings are banking on young quarterback J.J. McCarthy with a talented roster around him. In that kind of division, you need a game changer, and Green Bay just landed one of the most disruptive defenders in the league. Micah Parsons instantly elevates the defense into one of the scariest in football. That's why, in the short term, the Packers come out ahead. But don't count out the Cowboys here either. Dallas didn't just give Parsons away, they brought back serious value. Kenny Clark might be 29, but he's still a dominant interior defensive tackle, and that's been one of the biggest weaknesses on their roster for years. Pair him with the rest of that Dallas front seven, and you've got a completely different defense. On top of that, two future first-round picks give the Cowboys flexibility, whether it's adding more talent through the draft or using those picks as ammunition in a blockbuster move down the line. So if you're asking me who won, honestly, both teams. The Packers get their superstar for a win-now run, and the Cowboys get stronger in the trenches while setting themselves up for the future. This is the kind of trade that doesn't just shake up one team, it shifts the balance of power in the NFC. And here's where things get really interesting for Dallas. If Dak Prescott doesn't deliver with the firepower he has around him, CeeDee Lamb, plus that loaded offense, questions will start to surface. With those extra first-round picks in hand, could the Cowboys eventually package them to move up and grab their quarterback of the future? Names like Arch Manning are already being whispered, and you can bet the Dallas front office is watching that situation closely. And speaking of storylines, circle Week 4 on your calendar. Packers versus Cowboys, Sunday Night Football in Dallas. Parsons facing his old team under the brightest lights? That's pure box office drama, the kind of game that defines an NFL season. But let's bring it back to the silver and black. While the headlines are dominated by trades and blockbuster contracts, the Raiders quietly made a roster move of their own, and it could be more important than people realize. Today, Las Vegas claimed defensive back Tristin McCollum off waivers after he was released by the Philadelphia Eagles. Here's the twist of fate. The very same day McCollum was cut, The Eagles reunited with Marcus Epps, a respected veteran and former captain who once helped lead them to a Super Bowl appearance. That move created the opening for McCollum to slip through waivers, and the Raiders wasted no time snatching him up. Now, what does this mean for the roster? Anytime you add a player, someone else has to go. So the Raiders will be forced to make another move soon, and that decision could shake up the depth chart in a surprising way. So let's talk about Tristin McCollum, the newest addition to the Raiders roster. If you're not too familiar with him, here's the rundown. McCollum went undrafted back in 2022 and spent time on the Texans practice squad before landing with the Philadelphia Eagles. Last season, he logged 251 defensive snaps. The numbers don't exactly jump off the page. His coverage grade sat in the low 40s, though he was a bit stronger against the run, earning a mid-60s mark. In short, he's still a developmental piece, but one who brings size and versatility. At 6'3", he's a long, rangy safety who can add depth to the back end of the defense. Now, why does this move matter for the Raiders? Well, the roster currently sits at 54 players, meaning someone has to be the odd man out. My first thought is Thomas Harper. He's been valuable because of his flexibility, able to play both nickel and free safety. But with this new claim, the Raiders may look to slide him on a short-term IR to open up space. McCollum, by contrast, is more of a true safety. He's not going to drop into the slot often, but he can sit back and patrol the deep part of the field. Bottom line, the Raiders added size and depth to their secondary, but it also signals that another roster move is coming, and the most likely candidate could very well be Harper heading to injured reserve. And that brings us to what might be the most intriguing storyline of the day, the rumors swirling around Hunter Renfrow. Raider Nation, you're going to want to hear this one. Now let's get to the part a lot of Raider Nation has been waiting for, Hunter Renfrow. Some people may roll their eyes at this, but the truth is, multiple teams have shown interest in Renfrow after he was recently released by the Carolina Panthers. And when you hear his name back in the rumor mill, it immediately raises the question, could a reunion with the Raiders actually be on the table? Renfrow has always been one of those players who thrives in the slot, creating separation with sharp routes and making clutch catches in key moments. He may not be the flashiest wide receiver in the league, but Raider fans know exactly how dangerous he can be when the game is on the line. Now, the fact that several teams are already circling shows that his value is still very real. The question becomes, will the Raiders make a move to bring him home, or will another contender swoop in and grab him first? Either way, Renfrow's name is back in headlines, and this is a storyline worth keeping a close eye on. Hunter Renfrow's situation is turning into one of the more intriguing stories of the week. According to NFL insider Tom Pelissero, Renfrow has drawn interest from multiple teams and is carefully weighing his options after being unexpectedly released by the Carolina Panthers. Now here's the twist. Carolina actually wants to bring him back. But Renfrow isn't rushing into a decision, and why would he? With other opportunities out there, he's listening closely to what's on the table. Earlier this offseason, remember, the Raiders were among the teams that brought him in for a visit. He also met with several other franchises, but at the time, Carolina appeared to be the most likely landing spot. Clearly, that didn't hold, and now Renfrow finds himself at a crossroads with some real decisions to make. Meanwhile, we just got official word on the roster situation in Las Vegas. Raiders have claimed Tristin McCollum, and to make room, they've waived Thomas Harper outright. No short-term IR, no delay, just a clean cut. That locks the roster back at 53 players. Now circling back to Renfrow, Raider Nation has been buzzing about whether he could make a return to the silver and black. Let's be clear, as of right now, there's no truth to the idea that Renfrow is headed back to Vegas. Multiple teams may be interested, but a reunion with the Raiders? At this point, it's just speculation, and nothing more than rumor. When it comes to Hunter Renfrow, here's the reality. He just doesn't seem to fit what the Raiders are building right now. This offense is shifting toward a more physical identity, receivers who can block, fight through contact, and contribute in multiple ways. Renfrow, as skilled as he is with route running, doesn't bring that same physical edge. On top of that, the Raiders already made a big move at wide receiver by signing Amari Cooper, and from what I've heard, the coaching staff is more excited about him than most people realize. In fact, there's real buzz that Cooper could climb the depth chart and emerge as the team's WR3 ahead of guys like Dante Thornton and Jack Beck. Now, if Renfrow were to rejoin, he'd have to add value in other areas, particularly on special teams. That's something this roster clearly needs. But Cooper doesn't contribute there, and Renfrow doesn't either. And without that versatility, it's hard to see the Raiders pulling the trigger on a deal. Though as it stands, Renfrow's future looks like it will be written somewhere else, not in Las Vegas. Big picture, the Raiders have finalized their roster at 53 players with the addition of Tristin McCollum and the release of Thomas Harper. And across the league, the NFL is still buzzing after Micah Parsons' stunning trade to Green Bay. Two massive headlines, one local, one league-wide, both shaping the storylines heading into the season.